Welcome, Broncos country, to Orange and Blue View. My co-host Ron White and I are going to give you the pregame show as always. We got the big New York Jets game coming up. A lot of bad blood going on, of course, between Nathaniel Hackett and Sean Payton. So, let's we can get into that a little bit if we want. But Ron, how's it going?
It's going well, Thomas. Doing some traveling this weekend, but everything is good so far. So good. Looking forward to talking about your Denver Broncos, my Denver Broncos, everyone's Denver Broncos,
Yeah.
and the matchup this week with the New York Jets. So, of course, as you mentioned, we have Nathaniel Hackett's return to the Mile High City. It's going to be an interesting matchup with all the headlines and everything going. So excited to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Got Kevin Gregg came in early today to check us out, saying evening, Thomas and Ron, big Mile High salute to Broncos country, Denver Broncos for life, Mile High Huddle for life. And David Youngkin was in here as well, said looking forward to seeing our offense going against the New York Jets defense. So it's one scary defense. Yeah, I mean, I think they have a solid defense. We're going to get into it. I've got a couple things that I think the Broncos can exploit. I know you do as
Hmm.
well, Ron. So we'll be getting into that in just a second after we say hello to a few folks in the chat. I know that there's an important game going on right now. Colorado is playing down in Arizona, so hopefully we'll get a few people in the chat and a few people checking it out. But we understand if you are glued to the TV down, watching that game right now. But David McIlrath's coming in with a super chat. Thank you so much for the support, David. Appreciate you being here tonight on this fine Saturday evening. And David says, "Good evening, Broncos country. Tom, Ron, Dylan, and Deacon Scott. 9-8, Buckham ×3, Mile High Huddle for life, Denver Broncos for life." Yeah, thank you for the support, David.
Thank you, David. We appreciate you, man.
So, Ron, let's just touch on this whole thing. I know I talked about it a little bit on Legends of Mile High, but what do you make of this beef that's going on between Sean Payton and Nathaniel Hackett? I mean, the story is Sean Payton said it was the worst coaching job ever, and then he's gone out and not gotten many more wins than what Nathaniel Hackett had. Actually, less wins at this point in time last year. So, what do you make of that?
Yeah, and I think with me, Thomas, there's really, I don't think the headlines should get in the way, because the, the headlines aren't really living up to them at this juncture of the NFL season as it is. So we have a Jets team without Aaron Rodgers. And so it's really hard to kind of gauge, what that team is going to be. We've seen them kind of have a slow start without him. And then you have the Denver Broncos who, as you talked about, Sean Payton made all these comments going into the season about the worst coaching job and, how things were just bad all around. And the Denver Broncos now are 1-3.
Yep.
So I think, with all the buzz and the hype even entering the season, I think right now it's not really even a big deal. I think they just need to go out and play football. And I wrote in my Mile High Huddle roundtable, which I know we'll get into the predictions here at the end of the show, but I said that the Denver Broncos should not let the storylines and the return of Nathaniel Hackett distract them.
Right.
They had a win last week. Let's add another win.
Yep. I'm with you, man. I think the media is really trying to keep it rolling. I mean, it's always good for people to jump in and bicker back and forth about that. But yeah, for me, it's the Broncos just need to go take care of business and not worry about anything else. I know Nathaniel Hackett. There's all this. Oh, they did him dirty, all that stuff. Whatever. Just go out there and perform your job, and everything will be fine. I'm at the point now where it's a little bit kind of ridiculous at this
Old.
point.
Yeah.
It's old news.
Yeah.
Anthony Peters is coming in. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. If you have a comment you want us to get to, let us know. definitely try and get to that. And we also have Chad Campbell coming in with the super chat. Thank you so much. Saying big fan of the show. Well, thank you very much for the support, Chad. We really appreciate it. And we're glad that you're here tonight because we're going to jump into some of these keys, some of these key matchups, players to watch, the usual stuff that we bring, try and give you the information that you need to go out and watch the game. Hopefully that they, the Broncos take heed, obviously. I mean, why wouldn't they watch a show and understand how to go out there and beat the Jets, right? We also got Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, good evening, Thomas and Ron. Are we going to run, or quick passes to open the run? Buckham, go Broncos. That is a very good question, and that should lead us to our keys, Ron. So let's talk a little bit about our keys, right? I'm gonna jump in and talk about what I think that the Broncos need to do on offense, and that is not necessarily run, but don't abandon the run. It's very important that they don't, because if you want to, it should have been out. I haven't seen it come out yet, but I wrote an article, the typical by the numbers article that I do every week. I haven't seen it hit the Mile High Huddle site yet, but part of that is if you, I went back and I looked at all the Jets games against the Buffalo Bills, which the Buffalo Bills lost, and they are a better team than the Jets are. Don't get me wrong; even though they lost, they're a better team. The reason that they were ahead with a pretty decent lead entering the third quarter, and they ran 2 times in the third quarter, and then they end up losing in overtime, right? So they abandoned the run. Same thing happened with the Kansas City Chiefs. They were out to a pretty commanding lead, I think 17-0. They didn't run in the third quarter either. And next thing you know, it's 20-20, and they barely won 23-20. So the other 2 games that they won, the Jets lost, the Patriots and the Cowboys, they stuck to the run in the third quarter. They didn't abandon it, and they ended up winning those games. So from my perspective, it's not necessarily just run, but it's just continue to stick to that run. And even if it's not working, because the Jets, they may have given up the most rushing attempts on the season, but they haven't given up the most yards per attempt, right? So they're about the middle of the road. So you're not going to expect a huge rushing performance, but you've got to keep that mindset of continuing to run the ball.
No, that's a good point, Thomas. And again, Phil, thank you for this comment. This is actually a very good question. I want to add, I guess, to that I'll add mine as a supplement to what you said, because you're right. The Broncos shouldn't at all abandon the run. It should be, consistent running and emphasis on the run game. But I'm going to add to that and say they need to attack the middle of the field. So to your point, the Jets have a top 16 defense when it comes to pass yards. I think they're right at number 16. So, that's average ranking, and there'll be opportunities there to attack that middle of the field. So I would expect to see Judy on a lot of crossing routes, maybe sprinkled in with some Sutton, and with those crossing routes, that middle of the field should be open. And it'll be a supplement and kind of complementing what the run possesses, because you're right, the Jets defense, they're not world beaters. They're good up front. They're very solid up front. You have players up there. Quinnen Williams comes to mind. So there'll be opportunities there to run the ball, but I think there will also be opportunities there for Phil. You mentioned some of those short, quick passes, and some of those passes, 15, 20 yards hitting the middle of the field too.
Yeah. And let's not beat around the bush. Vance Joseph's defense has got to keep them in the ball game. Then all of this is, a moot point at that point, because if the Jets, come out and light them up right away because the Vance Joseph defense just can't handle it, then, running the ball, whatever, it's kind of goes out the window. So, they've got to hold up their end of the bargain on this too, for sure. So Dom's coming in. Saying good evening, Thomas, Ron, and Broncos country. Thanks for being here, Dom. Asking me if I am enjoying the balloon fiesta and hope the Broncos get a win tomorrow. Denver Broncos for life. No, I've been to the balloon fiesta. It's it's wonderful. If anybody ever wanted to, had any interest in in beautiful weather and watching hot air balloons. Definitely check it out. It's amazing. I've been there a few times. Not really going there this year, but from my balcony and the windows, I can see the balloons all up in the air. So it's pretty cool. So it's pretty fun. So thanks for being here, Dom. Really appreciate it.
Nice.
Also, we got Jasmine coming in saying, "Hey, Ron and Thomas." Yeah, thanks for being here, Jasmine. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very
And
much.
then we got a Facebook user here. I don't know who it is, but thanks for coming to the show and thanks for reminding everybody to smash the like button. So it says, "Hey guys, smash the like button and share. Let's go get another dub, baby." Busy day, park, hay rides, pumpkin picking, rope throwing, tug of war, and grilling out. Wow, that is a busy day. Well,
Yes, it is.
thank you for taking time out of your weekend to join us here on the Orange and Blue View as we go through our pregame show as we always do. Well, we won't next week, right? Next Saturday, game will be over. It's a Thursday night, so won't be able to do that. But we are bringing you the Jets versus Denver information tonight. So stick around as we do that. So thank you for being here.
And one thing, Thomas, we want to remind everyone in 2 weeks,
Yeah,
the Mile High Huddle meet and greet at Empower Field at Mile High. So again, this is the Broncos matchup with the Green Bay Packers. And if you live in the Denver area, if you're going to be there vacationing or just visiting, and if you happen to be by Empire Field Mile High, please come by to the stadium. There will be a big blue tent, and you will see all of the podcasters present. And of course, feel free to come up, shake our hands. Let's talk Denver Broncos, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone there.
Yeah. And thank you, Clayton. Now I know who it is. Facebook user was Clayton. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. You're almost always here. I love seeing you in the chat, Clayton. So thank you very much. I'm going to grab this comment from Todd Ossendorf saying could be a huge day for Breece Hall. If the Broncos don't do their job on defense, you're absolutely right. The Broncos have to stop the run. That's one of my keys. And not just stop the run, but don't let Breece Hall have those explosive plays, because that has been killing the Broncos. And he was last time they met, Breece Hall had some big runs. He's had some big runs this season. He had I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think there was an 84-yard run, a 26-yard run, a 43-yard run, I believe. So he's explosive. So that's a key to me, is stopping him from getting explosive runs. I mean, I don't mind. I don't think it's a killer if the Jets stick to the run and they grind out, they get some decent yardage. It's those explosive plays that are going to kill the Broncos. If they can't contain that, it's going to be a long day.
Yes. Thank you, Todd, for coming in. And this is you're right on this comment. This is a very good comment. And we hope that this is not a big day for Breece Hall, because we saw what happened last year, against the Denver Broncos. It was bad. So, if he can make more attempts to get those yards, I think that'll be good, because I think with the Jets and what we've seen from Hackett so far, Thomas, there has been quiet emphasis on the run. And again, if we can kind of limit those big explosive runs, those 20 and 30 and 40-yard bursts, again, having more attempts to kind of get up those chunk yards, I think is better. And I do expect that, but you just can't let him run all over the field at Mile High. Again, we're hoping that Breece Hall doesn't have a big day.
Yeah, for sure. So what's your second key, Ron?
Second key. So my second key for this game is to let Russ cook, in a sense. Use play action. Let Russ run more. Use his legs. We've seen what Russ has been able to do playing with play action, Thomas. Hitting those bombs to Mims and getting Sutton, involved as well. So, having him move left, right, to find the weaknesses in the defense to kind of throw those big plays. Obviously using his legs as well, kind of keeping that Jets defense kind of on its heels. I think that'll also, with the running of the running backs with P. Ryan and McLaughlin, and the use of Russ's legs, that'll kind of help neutralize that pass rush, right? Williams and
Yep.
such. So, kind of using Russ a little bit more to what we know Russ can be with his legs is another key for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gonna give a shout out to Casey Nickel for providing a super chat. Thank you, Casey. Thanks for being here as well. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. And Casey says, so glad to see you guys on. We're here. I mean, once in a while we miss it, but we're almost always here on a Saturday, especially in this NFL season as we bring you the pregame show. Casey says, I can't wait to see the first win at home this season. Yeah, I know this. We were expecting the first two games at home to be, really thinking that those were victories on paper when we started this season out before we even got into any games. Unfortunately, they weren't. So it would be nice to see the Broncos take care of business at home and start taking care of business at home from now on. It used to be in the Mile High City, it was hard for teams to come in and beat the Broncos. Even if they weren't that great of a team, they seemed to play well at home. That's been out the window for a while, and it needs to come back, something fierce.
Yes, I agree, Thomas. Thank you, Casey, for coming in with your generosity and this comment. And we're glad to see you as well. Thank you for chiming in. And we hope that this is a win at home. Again, it's going to. I think we could all say the offense, for the most part, has held up their end of the bargain.
Oh yeah,
it's all going to come down to this defense. What is this defense going to do? Can they hold up?
Yep.
And I think Greg brings up a good point. Can they tackle? Tackling. That needs to be the emphasis on defense, because I've seen all four of these, the past 4 games, Thomas, there's just been bad tackling. Like it's just been a mess all over the field. So if that's also emphasized, as well and executed well on Sunday, I do expect the Broncos to win their first home game too.
Yep. Yeah, Greg Smith, I brought his comment up, tackling. It's been awful. It's been a painful thing to watch because I hate missed tackles. It bothers me so bad, and it's been rampant. So they better start tackling for sure. Going to give a shout out to Dominic Martin for being here, saying, hey, Tom and Ron, mile high salute to my Broncos family. Orange and Blue View rocks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It says, I don't know how tomorrow's game shall play out, but what a test for this team. Go Broncos, Mile High Huddle for life. Yeah, I mean, the Jets aren't a bad team. I mean, the record is the same as the Broncos, but that doesn't mean that they're a bad team. They've got a pretty solid defense, pretty solid pass defense. Yeah, I think it is going to be a test. Now, Aaron Rodgers not being in, you don't know what, Zach Wilson's going to show up. And that's a key for me. That's my last key, is forcing Zach Wilson to make quick decisions by getting pressure on him. And the reason why I say that, if the Broncos can get 30% pressure rate or better, they have a very good chance of winning this game, because when Zach Wilson, in the games that he's played in where he's been pressured by at least that much, is 1-5. He just can't handle the pressure. And we've seen it, and that's been his knock. He's just not been able to make those good decisions under pressure. But when it's less than that, he's 5-2. So, I mean, it's night and day difference when you get pressure on Zach Wilson. And that's my key. And that the not just the interior line, not just the edge rushers, they really need to dial up maybe some blitz pressure if they have to. I would like it to be with the just the D line and the edge rushers, but Vance Joseph needs to make sure that they manufacture pressure if they can't get that pressure without blitzing. So they need to really do that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that actually goes to my last key as well, or it kind of ties in, where bringing pressure, getting home to Zach on that 4-man rush. So I know in this past week's conference, Vance Joseph mentioned that the 5-man rush, it was effective. Mm-hmm. And that's good. And maybe kind of using that at times, with the blitzing packages, Thomas. But I would want to see more 4-man rush pressures if they can, just because, I don't want to thin out the coverage too much to where we have receivers run open, because we do have the receivers at the Jets. They're a little bit more savvy than the ones from the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree. Getting home to Zach Wilson is key. Again, preferably on the 4-man rush, but yeah, 5-man, a lot of blitz packages as well. I think will be great, confusing him into those decisions.
And they won't be doing with Randy Gregory, who's got shipped out to the 49ers, which it's interesting because they were saying they were going to release him and they didn't actually go through with it, end up getting something for him. But, I have not been impressed with Randy Gregory. I think Benito and Cooper have passed him up on the depth chart. And it's not because of talent, it's because of motivation. And that's sending a message to this team. Like if you're not gonna put your heart into it, then you're not gonna be around, which I think is a good message to send. Although it would be nice to have more talent in the edge rusher. I'm not saying anything against Benito and Cooper. Gregory has talent, and I bet you, I've been talking about this for a while. He goes to a contender like the 49ers, he's gonna actually have an impact. He just didn't care that much here. So they're going to have to do it with Cooper. They're going to have to do it with Frank Clark. They're going to have to do it with Benito on the edges. Depending on if Frank Clark goes, it looks like he's going to. He wasn't listed as questionable anymore, so he should be a full go. So we'll see about that. But yeah, the edge rushers are the Benitos and the Coopers are they have got a lot. They've got a lot of try hard, which I like. But their main. We'll see how well they do talent-wise versus these tackles for the Jets. So hopefully they can get to him.
And also, let's not forget about and even Zach Allen. Zach
Right.
Allen is also due for a big game. So hopefully we see that tomorrow as well.
Yeah. We got a question here from Dr. Van Nostrand's coming in saying, if Javonte doesn't play, does McLaughlin get the start? That's a pretty good question. It looks like Javonte is going to play. He's listed. I'm going to go through some of the injuries, but it looks like Williams is questionable for the game, but he was a full participant on Friday. So I think he wouldn't start if he had a setback between Friday and now, which could happen. I don't know. If he doesn't go, I think it's Pirine gets the start. I think they want McLaughlin as that change of pace guy, but it looks like they're all three going to be playing, and you got to get the ball in McLaughlin's hands, right? You got to. He's a heart player. He's got good speed, good quickness. He can get out in space and make something happen. So I don't know if he gets the start. I think Javonte is back, but if there's a setback, I think it would be Pirine.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Dr. Van, for coming in. It'll be Pirine. You're right with McLaughlin, Thomas. We saw just what amazes me with him. He's so shifty. I just love like that first touchdown last week, how he was just able to just shift off the defenders and find the end zone. And you're right, that adds to the quick change of pace. Like the bruisers like Pookie and Samaje Perine are great, but having that quick twitch speed guy that can just feed off the defenders, I think it's a good trait to have. So
yeah, which brings me to a matchup that's important is, in my mind, the Broncos interior defense or offensive line has to be able to handle that Jets interior defensive line. I really think that they've got to open some holes. They just have to, right? They've got to grind out that clock and stick to the run. So, I know that the Jets defensive line is pretty talented, but they've got to figure it out on that interior of the Broncos line.
Yeah, that's a good one. My marquee matchup, speaking of Jaleel McLaughlin and Samaje Perine, so those two against C.J. Mosley and Jamin Sherwood, so linebackers for the Jets. And Mosley has been a tackling machine. He's actually been good in coverage as well. So I would like to just see mostly how McLaughlin can kind of handle C.J. Mosley kind of coming up field to getting the tackle, because he's very physical, C.J. Mosley at the point of attack. And how does McLaughlin deal with that? We know that Pirine is the bruiser, able to kind of fight off those defenders, but does McLaughlin have that same, approach to do so? So I'm curious to see kind of how that matchup takes place in the run game.
Yeah, and we got Robert is coming in saying he saw Cushenberry is out. Does that mean Alex Forsyth plays? I didn't know he was ruled out yet. I know that he was questionable and was playing it on a limited basis, but I haven't heard if Cushenberry is out yet or not. My guess is, if he is going to be out, they're going to have to bring in another player. I don't know who that will be. I don't know if they trust Forsyth yet, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they do. I think they've got Wattenberg, right? He's probably your backup, but they'll have to bring in some. The thing about for me though is Quinn Bailey can play outside or inside, so that's a backup guy. So, but I don't know who. I would imagine they would have to bring at least make Forsyth active in case something happens injury wise to the player who does start at center. But I don't know. He got limited practice time and limited play really not until late in the preseason. So I don't know if he still needs a little development, but I'll keep an eye on that. I haven't seen that. And in fact, I'm going to look through Twitter right now to see. I haven't seen that he's been officially ruled out yet. So
yeah, I heard last time I heard as well. Thank you, Robert, for coming in. Last I heard it was questionable. So I haven't heard yet the status to out yet. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one for you, Robert. But yeah, I think you're right, Thomas. If it's not Cushenberry, it'll be maybe Wattenberg. It's Fuller.
Kyle Fuller's he got let go, so he's not even really in the plan. So yeah, I think I don't think he's out yet. I don't think it's been completely said that, but yeah, Forsyth needs to get some action, right? They seem to think he's the future because they kept him on the roster even though he didn't get a lot of practice time. So we'll keep an eye on it. I'm going to keep looking on Twitter while we're talking here to see if I can find out more. Naj is coming in with a super chat, a big one. Thank you so much, Naj. Appreciate it. Saying, hey, brothers, to me, tomorrow's game comes down to how the Broncos players feel about Payton. The Jets will come out hot and fired up, feeling insulted. Will the Broncos respond in kind? Comes down to their loyalty for Payton. I mean, that's a good point to make because there has been some, back and forth as we talked about when we started this out. So are they going to take pride in this game? Because I don't think they have. And it wasn't until the second half when I really felt like the Broncos played with a lot of pride because, that Miami debacle was definitely not. And then half of the Chicago game, it looked like the same thing. So I hope they do. And if they aren't, from my perspective, Sean Payton's going to keep cleansing that team of people who can't do that. And he's already shown it with Randy Gregory. My guess is there's going to be more than that. And I mean, obviously saying Bassey too, they cut him. So he wasn't playing up to standard. So yeah, if they lose to the Jets, if the Broncos lose to the Jets, it's pretty much the season's pretty much over because then they've got Kansas City 2 games out of the next 3 weeks, right? And then they got to play Green Bay, who isn't an awful team either. So I think this is kind of a must win if the Broncos want to do anything this season at all. I think it's a must win.
Yes, thank you, Naj, for coming in with your super chat. We appreciate you, my brother. And yeah, so I think that's a part of it, Naj, that it's going to reveal how they feel about Payton. But, again, Payton's going to have this job for a while, and Payton has to see this team in his own vision. And if the players aren't playing well, then he's either going to cut them or have them available for trade. We saw that with Gregory. So, this game has to come down to building that momentum, right? We saw the Broncos have a come from behind game last week. So they already have the momentum on their side. It's just a matter of can they do it again? And they're going to have to come up firing on all cylinders. Again, I think the offense is going to be ready. I know we're going to sound like a broken record, but the offense, I think, is going to come ready to play. It's a matter of, can this defense do something? Can they stop somebody? And that has yet to happen.
Yeah.
But we will see tomorrow on what happens. And of course, the more the defense looks like this, and the more the players don't feel as fired up and as energized, these players are going to be let go or traded. Don't
Yep.
don't be surprised. We saw the Randy Gregory trade, right? We can see more of these trades coming by the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. You betcha. Yeah, thanks, Naj, for the support. Appreciate it. We got Phil McLaughlin coming in again with some support from Facebook Stars. Thank you so much, Phil. And saying, I'm hoping that McGlinchey finally plays up to the level of the money we paid him. Yeah, I have been very disappointed with McGlinchey's play, especially considering that contract. He has not looked like the right tackle of the future. Now, I think he's been starting to play a little bit better, but he's still making mental mistakes. And he hasn't been a dominant right tackle, right? The Broncos paid him to come in and be a dominant right tackle, right? They paid him that kind of money. And so far he hasn't been. And I've been disappointed with that pickup, that free agent signing. Although I would say that Bowles and McGlinchey had a pretty decent second half. I mean, they played pretty well. And I think, overall that second half, the offensive line played much better. So hopefully they're kind of coming together as a team. They're establishing an identity, hopefully, and they're going to go out and just keep improving. And it needs to start this week. That is a defensive line that's tough to handle. And I think, one of my matchups that's going to be an important matchup is Quinn Miners versus Quinnen Williams. I mean, Quinnen Williams is their kind of stud on that defensive line. And Miners did a pretty solid job. So I think he's been a pretty solid throughout this season, and he's played pretty well against the Commanders. They've got a couple good defensive linemen, and when I saw Miners out there going head to head with them, he did a pretty solid job. So he's got to continue that, and he's got to keep Quinnen Williams from making an impact.
yes, I agree. Thank you, Phil. And for me with McGlinchey, it's a few things. you know, the penalties. The penalties from McGlinchey has definitely been an issue, and also we've seen him just look lost out there at times. And I hope with this Jets defensive front that he can show up. Play like the right tackle we paid him to be, but he needs to clean a lot of things up. I've seen just some bad football play, especially within some of the pass protection sets and such. So he definitely has a way to go. You're right, Thomas. I did see much improvement in that second half. From both the tackles, but I just need to see that on a more consistent basis.
You bet. Absolutely. Got Lando Lee coming in saying, excited for the snow-capped helmets. Could be a momentum booster. Go Broncos. I'm happy that the old Denver D is back. Hopefully it'll rekindle some magic, right? Some old magic from, back in the day. I don't know, some Mile High magic. I don't know what it is. I love the old emblem. I don't want him to just go back to the old emblem though. I want him to make a more modern version of it, but something that doesn't look cartoon or some of the stuff I've seen out there. But let's hope there's something that, kicks off this team in the right direction. It's my struggle is Vance Joseph. He's just not that coach for me. And I just don't see how he's going to turn it around. I don't think he's got that leadership style in him. I don't know what it is. He doesn't have what it takes to go out there when the lights are bright and do it correctly. I think there's some talent on this defense. I think they should be playing much better than they are, but I think their scheme that they've been put into has hindered them significantly.
Thank you, Lando, for coming in. The snow cap helmets, they're a nice touch, but what would even be more of a touch for me is a win tomorrow. So the Broncos need to win this game, and you're right, Thomas, with the defense. Again, these are the same players from last year, guys.
Yep.
It's scheme. It's definitely the scheme. Evero was able to kind of mask some of the personnel issues with the scheme that he brought, but as we've seen with Vance Joseph, the sophistication just isn't there to do that with the personnel. And that's what's causing a lot of these issues on defense, right? We see, as we alluded to earlier, the missed tackles, the missed assignments, guys looking lost off coverage. There's just so many different things to name. And, with the defense kind of as it is now, I don't see how you can fix this, even in the short term, definitely not the long term. So
Yeah.
it's just you're right. I don't think Vance Joseph is your guy to get this done. And you're right with the leadership. I just kind of want to see what he does in these rooms, Thomas, just to see kind of what his philosophies are, how he's connecting with the players, because it's just not adding up. It's not adding up at all.
No, you're right. And maybe part of it is the fact that they wanted to run the old scheme and just have Vance Joseph kind of put it together. Maybe he's just out of his element, right? They've got too many elements of one defense, not enough of his. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously not working. And I mean, Pat Surtain, I don't think he's should be 10 yards off, off the that's not his game, right? He,
Yeah,
and why they're doing that, I don't know. It's made him look inferior, but he's not. But he's not gotten less good. He's just not they're just not fitting the defense to the players from my mind. So, all right. So another player that I really feel like needs to be watched is Nick Bonito. I think he looks like he's kind of finally coming on, right? Everybody was disappointed in him last year because his second round pick didn't do a whole lot, and I kept saying you got to let him develop. He was a project. He had elite skills, elite athleticism. He had the talent. He needed to get stronger. He needed to get some more pass rush moves, and that's what he did. And it looks like he's starting to really kind of take that next step. And I think this game he could wreak some havoc, and he really needs to. I mean, they need to get pressure on him. So I'm looking at Nick Bonito as being a key player to watch in this game to try and get off the ball quick, get into Zach Wilson's face quite early, as quickly as possible, right, and force him to throw that ball before he's really made a good decision. And that's Zach Wilson's kind of, I would say, problem, I guess I would call it.
yeah.
That quick decision making that he seems to have not done, although he played pretty good last week. So I'm not going to trying to take anything away from him. He played pretty well, but still made some mistakes when it really mattered. So Nick Bonito for me has got to have another good game like he did against the Bears.
Yeah, that game last week against the Bears, he was great, and I was encouraged, after that game with the Edge group for sure. So I do expect another, solid game from him. That's a good player to watch. One of my players to watch, Ben Powers. I want to see, how, he helps with that Jets defensive front, because with Quentin Williams, I know it's going to be the matchup with maybe a Glenchie, but we'll see Quentin Williams kind of move all around. So we've seen that Ben Powers has been good in the run, but has had issues kind of with the pass protection. And I want to kind of see how, with them moving Williams around, how Powers kind of handles that.
Yeah.
So Ben Powers is definitely one of my players that I'm watching for, looking out for tomorrow.
Yeah. Phil McLaughlin's coming back in with Facebook stars. So thank you again for the support from Facebook, Phil. Appreciate it. And he's saying, I have an idea. Let's put Clark, I'm assuming Frank Clark, on the defensive line. He's played 4-3 before. And let's put Moss in and get Mathis off the field. Let's move Jackson up closer to the line. He's just not a safety anymore, in my opinion. And finally, maybe sign a vet like Eric Rowe as a safety. Thinking outside the box, or my mind, LOL. I mean, it's great I like these ideas, right? It's always fun to kind of banter back and forth. What if we did this and did that? I think Frank Clark can play, in the interior off and on. I don't know how he can hold up if he's, full time on the interior defensive line. Just because he's thick, he's a thicker edge rusher, but he's not a big boy, so to speak. So I think he would be great to put him on the D line, especially in pass rush situations. He could handle it. If they did run, I think he can handle it okay. I just don't know if he could take that all day. Mathis has been disappointing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was supposed to take that next step, and he just hasn't. And I thought he was going to be a solid player, but so far he's really struggled. We are going to see Justin Simmons back probably on the field. He looks like he's ready to return. So you're going to get your starting safety back. So that's good. I'm not happy with Kareem Jackson's play, but he came up with a big interception to end the game, right? And that was without Justin Simmons there beside him. I think PJ Locke is coming back as well. I think you've got safety options coming back into the fold. Now, PJ Locke isn't a great performer on defense, but he's solid, and I think he'll fare better than Delaren Turner-Yell has fared back there. So there are some options. I'm not sure that they have to go out and sign anybody because people are getting healthy. I do think they miss Caden Stearns, though. His injury really has affected that team.
Yeah, all good points, Thomas. Thank you, Phil, for coming in again. I agree with Thomas on Frank Clark that, he's, like he said, Frank Clark is big, but just not big enough to kind of hold his own on the inside. So, again, maybe at times situations, but not consistently, especially within the 4-3. And then Moss, I would love to have Moss come in. I've been saying it since the first game with Mathis. Mathis has it's not been good this year for him at all. And they can't do any worse by putting Moss in. Let's see what the rookie can bring, because, I can go on and on about the things I've seen wrong with Mathis, but, at some point it would be nice if Mathis does continue to struggle, you got to try to put Moss in to see what he can bring. There's been a lot of hype that Moss is, the guy that can come in and kind of nail down that position, but you got to put him in. He has to play, and we'll see what happens. With Kareem Jackson, I do think this is his last year in Denver. But with the move up, Phil, I actually like that idea, because him at safety, we all know Kareem Jackson for the past few years has just been a liability in coverage. So him coming up, moving a little bit closer to the line, he's a sure tackler. And I think him moving up closer to the line to kind of help with the tackling would actually not be a bad idea. And then, Eric Rose, it would be a nice to have, but I don't see the Broncos, bringing in or even trading for any type of safety help at the moment, with a lot of these safeties, right? With Justin Simmons, PJ Locke coming back from injury. But no, this is a good, idea on a lot of different fronts, for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see Moss get some time. I'd just like to see what he would do, right? They've been talking about him. He's been healthy for a while, and I haven't seen him much on the field at all. Maybe a little on special teams, but I really don't. I don't remember seeing him out there. So that tells you something. But it would be nice to see what he can do if Mathis keeps struggling. But again, you got to remember, this is a rookie coming into the NFL. No matter how really good he is, he's going to struggle. It's just there's no other way to put it. He's going to struggle. So maybe they're kind of waiting on that. Maybe get him in on some packages to get him kind of acclimated. But, you got McMillan. McMillan is, playing fairly well. That made Asang Bassi definitely expendable. So there's some options out there, but I would like to see what Moss can do, because there's been a lot of talk about him, and there even people on our podcast, Mile High Huddle podcast, have they had a higher grade on him than what it would seem. So let's check it out. And speaking of checking it out, go to milehighhuddle.com and check out some of the articles. Luke Patterson, my co-host on Wednesday nights, got a Keys to Victory out there. There's plenty of good information on the site. Go check it out and see what you can dig up. There's some good stuff out there.
And going back, Thomas, to your point on the expectation, well, expecting Moss to struggle. I mean, it is expected that Moss is going to struggle. I mean, he is a rookie, but it wasn't expected for Mathis to decline.
Right.
And that's where, it could be a variety of things, right? Maybe just something in his head, himself, the
Yep.
scheme. So there are a lot of factors that kind of goes into that, but no one expected this high drop off. So
Right.
with Moss coming back, at the very least, the Broncos can just play him, because he has to be played at some point. He has to learn, and the only way to learn is by playing the game.
Yep. That's true. Absolutely. Let's get him on the field. All right. So let's get into some stats predictions. What do you say? Let's talk about what we think is going to happen with this Broncos team, and I am going to start out with Russell Wilson. I think he's been playing really well. I know people still are saying, "Oh, he's washed," and they're trying to get clicks and all that. If you look at all of his metrics, pretty much every metric that you can come up with shows he's playing pretty well. I just don't think he's going to play great this game. I think he's going to be okay, but I think he's going to have some struggles. It's a pretty good defense. I look for Russell Wilson. If the Broncos can run the ball and they don't get too far behind, I think he's going to have an okay day. 20 for 32, 230 yards, maybe a touchdown and interception, right? So nothing extremely great, but nothing too bad. Hopefully not enough, hopefully he's not going to be needing to throw the ball. Hopefully the defense shows up. I don't trust Vance Joseph to do that. So my prediction for Russell Wilson is based on the Broncos sticking to the run. If they don't, all bets are off on that one.
Okay, good one. So I guess a sauce interception.
I hope not.
I hope not, but yeah, it could be. So yeah, my stat projection, my first one, Jaleel McLaughlin. So again, it sounds as though Pookie is going to play. That's what it's leaning more towards. So, with that, probably I'm looking at around 11 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown, and 3 receptions for 20 yards.
Wow. You got him having a pretty solid day. That's great. I mean, if he can, I think he can if they give him enough opportunities. I don't know if they give him enough. It's like Marvin Mims. They're not giving him enough opportunities to really get get going. So hopefully they do, because he's got talent. And the thing that I like about McLaughlin that I've been saying a while is he runs tough. Even though he's small, he runs tough. I've seen, in preseason, I've seen him, kind of pushing the pile and getting them tough yards. So I hope so. And who else I hope shows up? Jerry Jeudy. He needs to show up. I mean, he's having he's putting up a bigger fight on Twitter than he has been putting up a fight on the field. So he needs to show up as well. I'm not going to project any stats for him, but if they're not going to play Mims enough, Jerry Jeudy better get do something with the opportunities, because Mims does. Mims, every opportunity he has, he does something with it.
Yeah.
Jeudy needs to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, I think actually, I thought that Javonte Williams wasn't going to play that much. They may be still have a little precaution with him. They may have him play a little, but not a lot. So Ryan needs to step up, right? If Javonte Williams isn't going to be able to grind it out like usual, you've got another hard running back there who hasn't seemed to do it a lot this year. I want to see him get 20 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. If Javonte Williams doesn't get to play very much, Ryan has to pull that weight, and I think he can. He just got to run hard, right? He's got to grind it out and run hard, and I think he can do it. I think you're going to see a bigger game from him this year, or this game, than you have all year. I just, in my mind, because I don't think they're going to play Javonte as much. They're going to be a little bit more cautious with his hip.
Yep. And then we were just speaking on Jerry Jeudy, so my next one is Jerry Jeudy. So you're right. He has, if Mims and or Sutton don't come through, Jerry Jeudy just has to come through. 4 receptions on 6 targets, 80 yards and a touchdown for Jeudy this game. I think he's due now for another one of those breakout game. So I definitely do see having a good day as well.
We already got a prediction in the we're going to get to our game predictions, but Ernie Mays is coming in Broncos 23-20. Thanks, Ernie, for that. Thanks for coming in. I hope you're right. I hope the Broncos win. They need this win at home, something fierce. So let's hope that you're right. All right, I'm going to make another prediction on defense this time. Alex Singleton's going to get 10 tackles. No impact plays, nothing big, but he's going to be solid tackler in the run game and help stifle that kind of explosive Breece Hall run game. And if he isn't in there, getting those tackles, then I'm really worried about what this team, what's going to happen in that versus the run. So Singleton is my guy, going to get 10 tackles on the game.
Nice. And then my last is Jonathan Cooper. So I have Cooper coming in with 8 total tackles, so 3 solo and 5 assisted, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble.
Okay. You've got a very positive outlook on this game. I'm trying to have a positive outlook, Ron, and that's why I'm saying this. If they do this, then whatever. But I want him to win so bad. I just don't trust Vance Joseph's defense to keep them in the game long enough for them to actually win it, because they can't make a comeback like they did against the Chicago Bears, because this defense is much better than the Chicago Bears defense. That's the problem I have. So we'll get into our predictions. I'm going to run down the injuries real quick. Baron Browning is back. He's off of the kind of off of the PUP list. They have time to put him on the active roster still. He's not going to play. It's just unfortunate because they could use him. Cushenberry, like we talked about before, questionable. Practice on a limited basis. Hopefully he gets to play. Mike Purcell as well. They need Mike Purcell out there for sure. Run stuffing type body. He's questionable. Javonte Williams, like I said, is questionable, but practiced in full on Friday, so we'll see how that goes. And then the other 3 injured players that were on the list, Frank Clark, Josie Jewell, and Jerry Jeudy, are all they're full participants. It look like they're ready to go. So that's your injury report. Hopefully they're going to get some folks back in full onto the active roster, especially for the defense, because the Broncos do need that defense. So to get them some of that talent back. All right, Ron, we're almost to the top of the hour here. Let's give our game predictions. What do you got?
So for the game tomorrow, again, it all is going to come down to, I know we sound like a broken record, guys, and we just have to keep emphasizing just how historically bad this defense is. So I'm going to say it again. It's all going to come down to what this defense can do.
Yep.
Now, there's opportunities for the Broncos to run the ball, for sure. And, if they stick with a key to victory that I have, attacking the middle of the field, I do expect the Broncos to win. So with that, the Broncos will win tomorrow, 28-21.
Look at you. You and Todd, same score prediction. Todd's got, but the opposite. He's got the Jets 28, Broncos 21. So Todd doesn't have a good feeling about this game. Thanks for throwing that out there. We also got Robert's coming in with a Broncos 21, Jets 16, and we got a Pearl Heater coming in talking about your smile, Ron. Loves it. You got a great smile, and you do, man.
Thanks,
you do have a great smile. So thanks for coming in, Pearl. Appreciate that. And we got Dr. Van Norstra saying it's going to be a 16-16 tie, the Hackett Bowl. Yeah, what would be worse than that? To have two inept offense going against an inept defense that they can't get anything right, and it ends up being a tie. That would, I don't know. I said before I hate ties, so I don't want to. I never want it to end in a tie, even in hockey. I don't even like ties in hockey, so I don't like the tie. It's either win or lose. That's it for me. All right. So as I've been saying, I'm trying to stay really positive for this team, but I just don't trust Vance Joseph. I think he's going to be the weak link again, and the Jets are actually going to win 26-17 I hope I'm wrong. I love being wrong when I predict this. Again, I don't trust Vance Joseph, and I don't trust the players on the team yet. I keep saying there's players on this team that don't know how to win, and it shows up game in and game out. However, I was really impressed with the comeback win against the Chicago Bears. There were several plays that made that difference. One, Russell Wilson played very good, didn't turn it over. Got 3 touchdowns. He was a big one. Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito stepped up huge. Had they not had Cooper and Benito hadn't combined on that strip sack and score, I don't know if the Broncos would have won. I don't think they would have. So you've got players that are coming up. So I'm saying that, but I'm hoping that they prove me wrong for sure.
Yeah, and I think part of my prediction is from that momentum from last week. Because you're right, Thomas. We saw Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benita. They just stepped up big time in the second half, and I'm hoping that trickles into this game. That this defense, at least can just make those impact plays.
Yep.
With Van Joseph, we know, they're going to give up the yards. They're going to have a lot of issues there, but those impact plays in key moments, can that happen again? That's what we all want to see.
I got to get to Orange Bucky here because everybody's still talking about the Taylor Swift thing. And he's saying next week we got the Chiefs, but that's not the only thing that bothered me. It's Taylor freaking Swift. I'm dreading that. Yeah, because all eyes are going to be on Thursday Night Football because Taylor Swift's there, and that whole thing to me is a joke. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I don't believe that it's really happening. I think there's some sort of ulterior motive behind the NFL trying to get more coverage. I don't know. She's way out of his league. I'm sorry. She just is. I don't get it, but whatever. You're right. I would be nice to see the Broncos spoil that for the Chiefs and for Kelsey and for Taylor Swift. I like some of her music. I mean, I'm not going to lie. She's talented, but I hope that the Broncos go out there and whip them on Thursday night just for many reasons, but that's part of it. We got Naj coming in saying, Ron, Thomas, I'll see you brothers at the meet and greet. Thank you for the reminder. We are going to be out at the meet and greet. Thanks, Naj. We like to make sure everybody know that we are going to be out there. Green Bay Packers game. We're going to be out in the parking lot, big Mile High Huddle tent. I'm not sure what section of the parking lot is that it's going to be yet. We're going to have more information soon, but it's just wander around and find us. We'll be there. There's a lot of great tailgates and everything, but we really want to meet you guys out there. So make sure that you come say hi to us, talk some football. We really will appreciate it. So thanks, Naj, for that reminder. And with that, I think we're going to call it a night, Ron. Any parting words for the Broncos fans out there for this upcoming game?
Yes. So, thank you, Phil, for coming in. 21-20 Broncos-Jets haven't scored over 20 this year, but they haven't played a D as bad as ours. Worst D since 1981, according to DVOA. Yes, Phil, that's a good point. And that's kind of what I was looking at as well. When I was looking at some of the Jets games, like their average hasn't reached 20 points. So, but with this defense, they may get to 30 something. Who knows? But anyway, but yeah, I would say my parting words, you guys, enjoy the game. We're getting players coming back slowly but surely. Vance Joseph, I know, is always a problem, but just be encouraged by what you see, especially on offense from Russ. We have McLaughlin out there looking good as well. So it's, just enjoy Broncos football. And again, once we get some of these players back, it may be a different outcome, but yep, that's all I got for you guys.
Yep.
And thank you for tuning in to the show. We appreciate you. Just always like, subscribe, and share on all the channels. It helps us tremendously.
Absolutely. Thanks, Orange Bucky. Thank you for everybody that's giving us praise in the chat. We really appreciate it. We love this. This is the definitive Broncos pregame show. That's what I keep calling it, right? I keep calling it because we dig in, we bring you the information. We've been pretty accurate on a lot of stuff. I got to throw the Miami game out because nobody could predict that really. But we love bringing you this information, and we will I'm actually going to be out next Saturday, Ron. Hopefully someone can jump in and to co-host with you. But we will be here every Saturday night for the most part, giving you this pregame show. So thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the game, and hopefully the Broncos can pull out a victory on Sunday. So thank you very much. Have a great night. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.